People's Channel. It's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is net zero built on lies? Recent revelations suggest that Britain's Climate Change Committee may have relied on insufficient data for key net zero recommendations. Now, a study on future energy supplies by Sir Chris Llewellyn-Smith claims that the CCC, so I'm referring to them as that now, based its pronouncements on the extent the UK can rely on wind and solar farms on just a single year of data. So obviously, this raises questions about the accuracy and reliability of their projections by only relying on 1 year's worth of weather information. The CCC stand by their analysis, but as we continue to debate on the feasibility of net zero further, are we being sold a lie? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is net zero built on lies? I'm joined now by Jim Dale, Senior Meteorologist of the British Weather Services, Ben Pyle, co-founder for Climate Debate UK, and John Grant, Senior Lecturer in Sustainable Construction and Climate Change. Well, I'm going to start with you, Jim Dale, seeing as you blew me out yesterday. Jim Dale.
I blew you out.
You blew me out. You were meant to be on yesterday and you blew us out, honestly.
Yeah,
where are you anyway? Have you gone abroad? Are you on holiday?
No, I'm back at the ranch. Loads of interviews today. You know what? We got a big storm outside. It's just about going through, starting to go through London now. Just to sort of reason why we might actually be talking net zero. Ninth storm of the season, and it's a huge one, and it will only get worse through the night. It's an amber.
What about
it's
the lies, though, Jim? What about the lies? What about net zero?
I'm not sure they are lies. And do you know what? The problem with net zero is the name, to be frank with you. I think it gets lost in the woods somewhere in terms of what it actually means, what we're trying to achieve. I prefer to call this climate mitigation or climate change preparedness. Reason? Because I think that's most people with any sense, any common sense whatsoever would support that. Net zero is a little bit like, one of those things that somebody sort of dreams up. It's the exchange, the Earth's exchange for CO2 up and down, the greenhouse effect. Now that we've all done that at school. What we're trying to do is make that equal.
Jim,
that's what net zero is.
Yeah, but we have talked a lot, Jim. And one of the big things that you've always said is that climate predictions are based on the bigger picture, not just 1 year here or there. And here's evidence that this particular projection was based on just 1 year's worth of data. And a lot of people are relying on that.
Yeah, I haven't got that paper in front of me, but even if it was, sufficient has happened in this last year globally to suggest that it is much needed. And as I say, it's climate mitigation, it's preparedness, that's the direction of travel. But you know, and I know, because we've had this conversation many times, going back over since 1850, the charts that I showed you last time around.
Look, Jim, I appreciate the 1850 thing, which is 100 and something years, which again, in my view, isn't enough. But 1 year certainly isn't. Ben Pyle.
Well, I think if we were going to find out whether they were lying or not, we'd probably need a mind probe. But there's certainly it looks like there may be some fibbing going on somewhere down the line. And it's important to remember that the disagreement between the Royal Society and the Climate Change Committee at the moment is one between two organisations that are both pretty much committed to net zero. We really need to broaden this discussion out, or the debate about this kind of thing out. These studies, both organisations' studies were based on modelling, and modelling is just scientific speculation. But we've had 20 years of climate policy based on these models, to try and work out whether that policy agenda is working or not. And I would suggest in that 20 years, domestic energy prices or domestic electricity prices have tripled. So there's the proof of the pudding. There's the proof of the modelling, and it's unfortunate for both of those organisations that this revelation, it's quite long in the making, has come in the wake of Vattenfall pulling out of British wind power projects in the North Sea, and of course Ørsted last year threatening to pull out of wind farm development in the UK, but then being given a 66% increase in the subsidies they're being offered by the government to provide wind power. And then further, another blow to that is today, of course, the boss of Siemens Energy saying that the government's promises of green energy, of renewable energy at low cost, are a sheer fantasy. And he made those comments at Davos, of all places, today. So it looks pretty devastating for the wind sector. And I think what the lies have been, and they have clear lies, that we're going to get green jobs out of this and we're going to get green growth out of that. In fact, the green economy, according to the ONS, is pretty much stagnant and has been for the last decade, even despite all of that.
Let me bring in John Grant. John Grant. John.
Yeah, so, this idea of stagnation in terms of the economy of this is fundamentally because the government has had a no wind turbine on land policy. So, of course, there's some stagnation in the economy with regards to that. But there's been a lot of research done that has put the numbers of extra jobs in the hundreds of thousands. And before 2030, 2040, as many as 3 million extra jobs. But going back to this idea of lies, the idea of insufficient evidence or insufficient data collection does not mean it's a lie. We've been collecting data on how windy the UK is for decades.
If it's not a lie, what do you call it?
We know that the UK is the windiest country in Europe.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Sorry?
That's not the point, though. If we know it's a lie...
yes, it is. We have a huge resource that we're the Saudi Arabia of wind, and the idea that because they only took 1 year's data, which is, there's some questions there. But if anything,
but there are
the
questions there. That's the thing. Listen, you're saying there's some... Sorry, John. You're saying there's some questions there, and then you're just brushing over it. But the question is, we were told they've used projections from just 1 year's worth of wind to work out the figures or the amount of wind supply that we could use and how much we're going to rely on wind. And it's just not enough. You, as an expert and a lecturer in sustainable construction, would never make your projections based on just 1 year. Surely even you wouldn't do that.
No, that's what I said. We need to collect more data. But this idea of delaying until we are absolutely certain, this idea that perfect is the enemy of the good, we have to act now. We are in the midst of an ever-accelerating changing climate, and we have to have a plan that is us backing down. This throwaway statement that our politicians have, that the UK is doing a great job because we cut our carbon emissions by 40% by switching from one fossil fuel to another fossil fuel, that's a lie. That's a lie. That isn't a shift down. That's just a profit-making scam. We are not on a pathway to zero carbon. You should be happy about that. I'm distraught because we need to be on that if we are to have a chance and play our part in what is the greatest challenge of humanity.
You say that, but again, the data that you are using to work that out may well be based on that sort of flimsy amount of evidence as well.
Not.
Once again,
it's not.
We may find... Jim Dale's shaking his head. It's not, is it? Are you sure?
No,
20 seconds, and then I'm going to finish with... I'm going to give Jim 20 seconds, and I'm going to come to Ben, and then...
Yeah, you just got to look beyond that one piece of evidence, if you like. It's one piece of a jigsaw, of a massive jigsaw that's going on all around us, right across. And what Ben's doing is taking us back to the 19th century, the polluted 19th. So we need to be acting with
Yeah, but you haven't even read it there. You said it yourself. So it's a piece of a jigsaw that you haven't read. Finally to Ben Powell, last word to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the jigsaws is about, and maybe we should be talking about wind farms. But look, John's comment is that we haven't been, that the government hasn't been committing to this. That's not true. The government's committed an awful lot of this, a lot to this, and it's failed. The amount of wind power that's coming online in the next 5 or 6 years is 4 times greater than that which has already been built in the last 4 years, and that's why we're starting to see this agenda collide with reality, because the expenses, the bottom line, has been creeping up and up and up and up and becoming more expensive. And now it's too much for the consumer to bear.
Yeah, well, net zero. I've got to go because I've got to go to the news. But you said the net zero was the wrong description for it. It's just literally the description of how much will be left in your bank account by the end of it. Listen, Jim Dale, thank you very much. Ben Powell, good to talk to you. And also John Grant, great to talk to you. So what do you think at home as you listen now? 35 after...